Hello and welcome to another edition of BuzzFeed Unsolved Postmortem, a show where we answer your most pressing questions about the most recent episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved, which was Agatha Christie. All the questions we're answering today came from you guys via our BuzzFeed Unsolved Facebook page, our BuzzFeed Unsolved Instagram page, as well as directly on the video on
Brian, before we get into things, I got a little question. Where'd you get that adorable little t-shirt that you're wearing?
You mean this BuzzFeed Unsolved cartoon tee?
Yeah.
That's a good question, Shane. I'm glad you asked. I got it from shopbuzzfeedunsolved.com. And you know what?
Oh.
You click that link, you might be able to get one too. You being the audience. Or you, Shane, because I don't know what the hell you're wearing right now.
Yeah, but I've got a nice little mug, I'll tell you that. And those are there. Look at that. Oh, the mug's so big, my head can fit in it. Oh! Just kidding, optical illusion.
That's funny because your frame has two mugs that are huge.
You son of a bitch.
All right, let's get some questions in. This comes from Rizu Kohli. For hashtag postmortem, I was wondering whether the second theory for the disappearance of Agatha Christie is what inspired Gone Girl. When you think about it, the disappearance and the element of revenge, the husband having an affair, and even the notion of coming back all add up. What do you think? You know, she is kind of the original Gone Girl when you put it that way.
OGGG. OGGG, as they say.
Gillian Flynn is how you pronounce the writer of Gone Girl, was a fan of Agatha Christie's work, so she may have been acutely aware of Agatha Christie's disappearance and therefore reappearance. But I can't confirm that that was the inspiration, but maybe. I guess it'll just remain unsolved.
Should that be our answer to every single question that we do this season? I don't know. I guess it'll remain unsolved. That would start to get insufferable. But that's sort of, everyone's always like, well, what do you think about this theory? And we're like, yeah, also possible. Next question.
Well, I think also you and I will start to get insufferable eventually, so might as well just bullet train our way towards that destination.
That's true. That's a Venn diagram with a juicy middle. Yeah, maybe. Next question. Let's head on over to YouTube. Spencer Martin for postmortem. I think that Agatha's story has one major hole in it. The letter to the brother. If she had lost her memory, how could she tell her brother she would be at the hotel? My theory is that this was revenge against her husband that backfired on her in the public, so she made up the memory loss story to combat accusations of a publicity stunt.
You know, that could be a hole, but I gotta say, I don't know if we know the actual timing of the letter. She could have possibly written that letter way beforehand and had always planned to go to that spa, and then she gets into the accident, and that's one of the things that's on her mind when she's in the accident, and she kind of just defaults to going to there, you know?
That's the thing, with these fugue states and memory loss, it's like you clearly remember some stuff because you remember words, You're like, you're not suddenly like goo goo gaga, yeah?
Exactly, no, you're right. As far as I know,
you remember what stop signs are and what cars are. You're not like, what is that metal beast on the road? So some things you clearly retain. Maybe if you are dead set on getting somewhere, your memory latches on to and understand, everybody, we've said this before, we'll say it again, we are not doctors.
Well, actually I am now.
You're not a doctor, Ryan. This is why we have to keep saying that.
That's
Ryan is not a doctor. You are not a doctor.
I am a doctor. I took a course over the pandemic.
What did you get your doctorate in?
Kindness.
You didn't. Well, you certainly have been cheerier lately, so it might be true. I thought you were going to say ghost science, and I was about to.
Oh, I got that a long time ago.
No,
I got that a long time ago from Ghost U. I will say that your brain does, seem to prioritize certain information. Like, I'm confident that if I went into a fugue state, I would likely just make popcorn bags until I died. Yeah, we don't know the timing of the letter, so it's possible she could have written that before when she was online and then went offline.
As we know, Agatha Christie was very online.
Facebook, we got Adonis Mark Shin, hashtag postmortem. For postmortem, if you are a very talented mystery novel writer, What will be your imagined masterpiece? A question for both of you, if ever. Also loving the final season so far.
Well, now, this is a very high-stakes question because it's saying, hey, if you were, what is your masterpiece?
You're asking me to
masterpieces are very difficult.
Also, you're asking me to give away my ideas then. If I have a masterpiece brewing up here, and trust me, I don't.
He does.
But if I did...
Oh, well,
oh, thank you. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
I'm sure you got some ideas up in that noodle.
Oh, I got ideas. Are they winners? Remains to be seen. I'll have to ask all of my students when I go back to class for the doctorate that I definitely have.
Out of here. Would you get out of here with that?
You can't say get out of here and tell me I'm not a doctor while you're pointing at me with a banana.
You are not a doctor!
I don't have any masterpieces, and if I did, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
No, we don't have any masterpieces, unfortunately. If I did have a masterpiece, it would probably be about something that people got to figure out, and then they think they figure it out, but then it's not what they thought. But it's very satisfying in the end, you know? So
to be fair, you have self-proclaimed that you have had masterpieces.
Well,
in fact, one of those masterpieces was on this very show. A little stupid story that I won't even refer to by name because I treat it like Voldemort.
I mean, I never referred to it as a masterpiece.
No, you
You're
certainly
referring to
have.
the hot dog, which is a masterpiece.
So you knew exactly what I was talking about, huh?
Yes, you're talking about the hot dog, which is a masterpiece.
It is not
there,
a masterpiece.
Oops, I've said it. Hopefully we'll get around to wrapping that up someday. Let's go back to Grahamtown, Ryan. Do you feel comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with going back to Grahamtown?
I think I'm good with that. Thank you for asking, and I feel comfortable.
Okay.
Let's proceed.
Okay, good. This is from Izzy Bowie Official, or Izzy Bowie Official if you're over there in the UK. For postmortem, Ricky Goldsworth is just not as sketchy as he once was. Is he okay? Kinda seems like he was going through something.
Yes, I saw a lot about this. Sorry, go. What were you going to say there?
Well, I was going to say I found it very interesting. And Ryan, you, I don't think are acquainted with Ricky Goldsworth, so you may fall into this camp because every time he's brought up, you seem to go somewhere. And it's sort of a Clark Kent Superman situation. Ryan exits the room mentally, Ricky enters the room. But a lot of comments on the video of people saying, what's going on at this timestamp? And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in some people's lack of knowledge about the BuzzFeed lore, BuzzFeed Unsolved lore.
I'm a little confused because I did see those comments too, and I saw that like there was a moment where it looks like I go a little hostile, and I don't actually recall that on set.
No, you never do.
When you were talking about this like Ricky guy.
Yes, Ricky Goldsworth is his name.
You better not fucking forget it.
Yeah, so this is what we're talking about here. Ryan, hey.
That's right, Longlegs. I'm back and I'm here to stay.
Oh,
Your little buddy Ryan's gonna be gone forever. And you'll find his floating corpse at the bottom of the LA River.
but are you okay, dude? I don't think Ricky understands that he is in your body because Ryan, you weren't here for this, but he's making threats about killing you. And
what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Anyway, thank you for your concern, Izzy Bowie, and we'll hopefully get to the bottom of that eventually.
Adam Berg on Facebook says, for the postmortem, Agatha checked in with the last name of the Mistress, and then was looking for family members of the Neal family to help her remember her life. I think this was a poorly thought out plan to lure the Mistress to her, with intentions to murk the Mistress, or at least perform some sort of nefarious deed. I don't think Agatha's subconscious's, motive was to lure Miss Neal out into the light, Miss Neal being the Mistress, so that she could murder her. I think she could have done that pretty easily, seeing as how she seems to have known where her husband was.
It's a long shot, really.
No, if that needs to happen, I'll just prime it or something.
Yeah, if there were, you'll prime it. You'll order a hit through Amazon Prime.
Well, of course, I'm not gonna do the 7-day shipping. I'm gonna just I have Prime, so I'll just prime it.
Do they do that now? Amazon Prime You can murder people with
this guy doesn't know about Amazon Prime hits.
I guess I don't. Does a guy show up at your door and say, prime time?
But yeah, that's not how it's gonna work, Adam. I don't think that's what she was planning. And from my experience, if you're gonna murder somebody, the long game is much, much better. Even if the hit in question hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Get really close to them. Maybe do some things together, like host a show, start a company, get them, earn their trust. This is a hypothetical. Earn their trust. And when they least expect it, you know what happens next.
Yeah.
It's the patient knife that hurts the most.
Why don't we move on? Here's one from Instagram. For the postmortem, is there any chance Archie sabotaged the car, and then her figuring that out sent her into such a bad mental state that she lost her memory?
You know, that is interesting. We would be, at that point, fully accusing Archie of trying to murder his wife. But I don't think so, mainly because by her account, she was thinking of going over into that, I guess, ravine, you could call it, earlier when she was driving around with her daughter. So the fact that she went back to the same spot by her own recounting of the tale means to me that I don't think Archie had anything to do with it. Let's just say this. I don't think Archie was too plugged in to the inner goings of his wife's mind. Let's just say that. He didn't seem very present.
Well, I mean, also think about this. He is an aviator. He's not working on cars. He's working on planes. He don't know cars. He know plane.
I mean, metaphorically and literally, his mind was in the clouds. So I don't think he has time for the ground dealings. You know what I mean?
I would guess, from what I know about aviators, that he spent most of his time up in the air. He probably touched down every now and then to kiss his wife and cheat on her. Yeah. And then the rest of the time, he's up there. He's sleeping up there, except when he isn't. He's eating his meals up there. He's taking his meetings up there. This was the life of aviators. You can look that up. That's what it was like.
Yeah, do you think he had in his calendar, cheat on my wife? He made it seem like he had it on his Apple reminders, cheat on my wife. Cool. Almost forgot to do that.
Oh, let's bring it down for a landing, cheat on my wife for a bit, and then back to the sky.
Let's move to our last question here.
All right.
This comes from YouTube. Kimberly Lou says, for post-mortemers? Interesting. What do you think was in the letter Archie burnt? I bet she put him on blast.
You ever read those letters that James Joyce wrote to his wife? Well, they're all about farts. If you haven't read them, I encourage you to look them up and give them a read. It's a nice little piece of history. I think that's what was in it. I think it was a really romantic letter about farts. That's my theory.
That's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. I don't think it was about farts. I got a hunch it has to be about all the screwing around, would be my guess.
Probably that.
God, you ever been so angry at somebody, Shane, you couldn't even say what you had to say? You needed to write it down first so that you could dictate what you need to say in your head? You ever been that emotional?
Usually when I'm super angry at someone, I just don't speak to them ever again.
Oh, cool. I mean, that is certainly one way to do it. The only time I've ever written a letter to somebody that with so much emotion in it because I just couldn't get it out was to Santa Claus.
Well, I guess in the same way, that's almost, she wrote a letter and then she seemed to be so angry that she wanted to disappear from his life entirely. Possibly, if that was her plan.
We're almost like the same there in a sense then.
Interesting. Yeah. We covered a lot here today. Ryan, hey, that's not the end of the season. There's still an episode coming up this week, Friday, at 3 p.m. Pacific time.
You know what? I think you're right.
Can you give us any cheeky little hints about it?
I would say this case is very multifaceted and that it really is like a monster of a case, like a really big case. That does it for this episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved. Postmortem, make sure you watch the episode that we were just talking about this Friday, and then send in your questions to the BuzzFeed Unsolved Facebook page, the BuzzFeed Unsolved Instagram page, or you could comment directly on the video on Bun, and maybe you'll be on the next episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved Postmortem. See, I slowed it down there to try and mess you up.
No, I got it. I slowed it down too.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did.
I did, yeah.
I don't think you did, Banana Man. By the way, do you have the banana because of the yes, we have no bananas, or is you just like bananas?
Yes! That's not actually why I have it, but you are correct. That's exactly why. All right, everybody. See you next week.
See ya!